Welcome to More Than a Few Words, marketing conversation for business owners. This is your host, Lorraine Ball. And everybody loves to get away. Everybody recognizes that a retreat is a wonderful opportunity to renew and refresh and maybe even learn something. And as a coach or a consultant, maybe a retreat is a great way for you to teach something and reach prospective clients. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And to have this conversation on how you can package your brilliance into a 5-figure retreat, I've invited Michele to join me. She's an intuitive guide, a consultant, an author, and a keynote speaker with 15 years of experience in startup marketing. She's the founder of a Multidimensional Leaders MDL, a private association of conscious entrepreneurs and thought leaders who are paving a new way forward. Michele, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lorraine. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to dive into this topic.
Me too, because I have done like 1-day sessions and mastermind groups, but I've never taken on the challenge of doing a retreat. So I'm really interested. I'm thinking about this. Where do I start?
Mm, that's a great question. And I think one of the impediments for many people is, the thinking through all the details, just the overwhelm of, oh my goodness, just there's just so much to plan and think about and where to do it, who to invite, all the details that it really stops people in their track. And so, one of the things that I'm suggesting to my community is to think about doing collaborative retreats where they're really, it's a cost sharing uh, aspect to it. And it's allowing, your body of work and other complementary bodies of work to come together in a kind of holistic experience. And on top of that, there may be some cost sharing, it's not all on you. And so that helps you kind of handle something like that in addition to potentially the rest of your business that you're you're also needing to do the day-to-day operations of. So um,
That actually is such a good idea. And I've noticed I have some friends who routinely do these really exciting and interesting retreats. And I've noticed that many of them are starting to do them together. And I think, what a great idea. They have very different messaging that they're teaching, but it fits together. It's the kind of thing that their target audience would be interested in both. So, okay, I found a partner and we're going to do this together. Now
yeah.
what?
Very good point. Well, I would say before you even get to the partner part, really think about understanding your own brilliance, of course. And one tip that I definitely, ask people to think about is to potentially look at their archetypes. And I have a guide. It's called the Brilliance Archetypes, and so it's one way to look at yourself in a different light, look at yourself from a different role, a different perspective. So if, for example, you come out as the educator archetype, then maybe the retreat is going to become a classroom style, even if it's in a sexy location, but maybe that's really where you thrive is kind of in that kind of setting, right? If you have an explorer type of archetype, maybe you want to do knowledge that is in the local town. So you're going on a tour with everyone and then you're dropping, your body of work as you're moving through the exploration of different cultures and different experiences. So these are kind of ways to think about your retreat in a different way than just delivering the content, but also it's about the experience. It's about packaging it in a way that is going to allow you to have the most fun, and therefore everyone else is going to have the best experience too.
I think you've raised a really good point that as you're looking at putting together this event, if you're running a retreat and it's 2 days or 3 days, it's going to be on you. And you're creating this experience, and you have to know that you're playing to your strengths.
Yeah,
Because if you really are more the educator type, you're going to be completely uncomfortable in that exploration role for extended periods of time.
right. And so then when you know what yours is, then you can find that complementary person, right? Who maybe they are the explorers, so they'll do the other activities that might, break it up, right? Because maybe you don't want to do classroom for 3 days, right? Maybe you want to go to the spa or do different activities. So it just allows people to experience potentially the overarching transformation, but in different ways.
So you're starting to figure out what information you want to deliver and how you want to deliver it.
Mhm.
And you have found a location. I mean, that's a whole lesson in and of itself. But now you're in this place where you have to get people to come.
Mhm.
How do you introduce this idea, invite people, get the right people in the room to create the energy that you need at a retreat?
Absolutely. So I'm going to touch briefly on location as well, because location, I think people don't think about visiting the place that they're going to do their retreat at before they do the retreat. And that is extremely important from the perspective of it's going to generate ideas for you that you may not have even thought of as far as the formatting of the event. So you want to go there and look at the spaces that are there, and maybe you're going to say, "Oh wow, this is going to be perfect for like a fireside chat." And then over here is going to be the networking cocktail hour, and then over here is going to be, whatever you end up dreaming up, but it's the space that's going to tell the story. It's the space that's going to allow for the programming a lot of the times. And so once you visit, then you can really put together a very effective program. And I think that together with understanding your brilliance, that's going to attract the right people that are going to want to have all of the mix of things together. So it will then, of course, inform as well the messaging part. And that's essentially what's going to attract the right people for you.
When you were talking about location, I remember in my corporate days, we had meeting planners who did all the legwork. And I remember that it's interesting, I shouldn't bash men, but many of my male counterparts just said, "Oh, Terry, you do it." And when it was my meeting, Terry and I would sit down and I'd be like, "Okay, I want this kind of an environment. I want this kind of space."
Mhm.
And the clients that came to my meetings were always like, "How did you find these places? They're fabulous. This was such a great location." And it was because I was clear about the experience I wanted, and that I
Mhm.
could trust someone who knew what I was looking for. And so
Mm,
it totally makes sense to me that you want to see the place, you want to walk the grounds, you want to figure out how far is it from one place to another, because that's
mhm.
going to inform the schedule.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And those are some of the details we tend to forget about. We maybe just plow through what our vision is and we don't align it with the experience of the space or, other factors, other people, other programs, the logistics of getting there, like you said. Um,
Mhm.
so looking at all of those things is beautiful, and unexpected experiences can come from that too, which is great.
Yes.
Or ideas, right? Yeah.
Do you have an ideal size for a retreat, or do you have suggestions on what people should aim for as they're putting together this kind of an event?
hmm it's not about it depends on your goals at the end of the
Mhm.
day, right? So there's no like ideal size. I think if you have 10 people, then you just want to decide on an intimate format. So more
Mhm.
round table, for example. Um, And then, if it's a larger one, there's going to be different formats. Again, you might, if it's 30, 40, there's maybe some breakout sessions where you get into groups of 5. And then when it gets like into an even bigger event, then again, the programming starts to change along with the size. So there's just different considerations. If you're starting your first retreat, of course, start small, I guess, just to take the pressure off. We all obviously want as many people as possible, but I think just the logistics of taking care of just one human being is it can be a lot, right? Just
Yes.
answering questions, things like that. And then as you scale the retreat and you have more team that can support you, then you can get even fancier with it. So that would be my
Fantastic.
suggestion. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Michele, this has been great. Thank you so much for an introduction to this topic. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. And I wanted to just add, if anyone wants to join my Evergreen Challenge on retreats, you are welcome to do so. I know that the links will be in the show notes after as well. So.
Absolutely. So I'm going to encourage you, if you're intrigued and thinking about perhaps you want to do a retreat, this 5-day Build an Epic Retreat Challenge is a great place to start. Michele, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
And if you've enjoyed this conversation and you'd like to find more resources for your business, be sure to subscribe to MTFW wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like a one-on-one conversation, go ahead and schedule an office hour and we can chat about your retreat plans or other business plans. This has been another episode of More Than a Few Words. Thanks for listening.